Imagine walking your dog alone at night. A stranger stops you and asks for help. At first, it seems harmless, but then he insists that you follow him into the darkness. This is a true horror story about a decision that may have saved a 14-year-old boy's life. I was 14 years old when this happened. At the time, I lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood where nothing ever seemed to happen. Crime was rare, everyone knew each other, and my parents always told me it was one of the safest places in town. Because of that, I felt comfortable doing things on my own. One of my daily responsibilities was walking our family dog every evening. His name was Max, a large German shepherd who was usually friendly but very protective whenever he sensed something was wrong.
Looking back, I think Max may have saved me that night. It was sometime during the fall. The sun had already set, and the streets were mostly empty. It wasn't late, probably around 8:30, but darkness had already settled over the neighborhood. I remember wearing headphones and listening to music while Max sniffed every tree and mailbox along our usual route. Everything felt normal. At least at first. As I walked past a small convenience store near the edge of town, I noticed a man standing alone under a streetlight. There wasn't anything particularly unusual about him. He looked to be in his late 30s or early 40s. He wore a dark jacket and jeans, and he appeared completely ordinary. The only thing that stood out was that he seemed to be watching people as they passed. When I walked by, I noticed him glance directly at me. I looked away and kept walking. A few seconds later, I heard someone calling out, "Hey!" I ignored it. Then I heard it again. "Hey, kid!" I turned around. The man was looking directly at me. For a moment, I assumed he was going to ask for directions or something harmless. Instead, he smiled and walked toward me. "Sorry to bother you," he said. "You got any money?" The question caught me off guard. I shook my head. No. He seemed disappointed. Then he pointed toward a nearby pharmacy. "I've got a terrible headache," he explained. "I just need enough money for some aspirin." I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt bad for him. Another part of me felt uncomfortable. My parents had always warned me not to talk to strangers. Still, I tried to be polite. "Sorry," I said again. "I don't have any money." The man stared at me for a few seconds. Then his expression changed. "That's okay," he said. "You can help me another way." Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" I asked. He pointed down the road. "The pharmacy's only a few blocks away." Then he smiled. "Come with me." I immediately felt uneasy. "I can't." "Why not?" "I have to get home." The smile on his face disappeared. For a moment, he simply stood there staring at me. Then he took a step closer. "Come on. It'll only take a minute." At this point, every alarm bell in my head was going off. I remember gripping Max's leash tighter. The street suddenly felt much quieter than before. There were no cars passing, no other pedestrians. Just me, the man, and my dog. I took a step backward. "I really can't." The man's expression became strangely serious. Then he looked around before speaking again. "Don't be difficult." The tone of his voice had completely changed. It wasn't friendly anymore. It sounded annoyed, almost angry. I felt fear begin to creep into my chest. I turned and started walking away. That's when I heard his footsteps behind me. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But when I glanced over my shoulder, I saw him following me. Not running, not rushing, just walking, matching my pace. My heart started pounding. I began walking faster. So did he. I looked around desperately, hoping to see someone nearby. The street remained empty. I could hear Max growling softly beside me. That was unusual. Max almost never growled at strangers. The sound made me even more nervous. I crossed the street. The man crossed too. At that moment, I knew something wasn't right. This wasn't someone looking for help. This wasn't someone trying to buy aspirin. This person wanted something else. And whatever it was, I didn't want to find out. I started moving faster, almost jogging. The man continued following. Then something happened that I'll never forget. Max suddenly stopped. His ears went back. His body stiffened. And then he let out the loudest, most aggressive bark I had ever heard. The sound echoed through the entire street. The man froze. Max barked again, this time even louder. The man took a step backward, then another. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Finally, the man turned around and walked away. Just like that. No apology, no explanation. He simply disappeared into the darkness. I stood there shaking. My hands felt numb. I remember looking around, expecting him to come back at any second. When he didn't, I practically ran home. The moment I walked through the front door, my parents knew something was wrong. I told them everything. The man, the pharmacy, the request for money, the insistence that I follow him.
And the fact that he had followed me afterward? My father immediately became concerned. The more he listened, the more serious his expression became. When I finished, he told me something that stuck with me for years. He said, "Adults don't ask children to walk them somewhere at night." At the time, I hadn't fully understood what he meant. But the older I got, the more I realized how true those words were. An adult with a legitimate problem would ask another adult. They wouldn't target a 14-year-old kid walking alone. Several days later, my father called the local police station to report what had happened. Unfortunately, they couldn't do much. I didn't know the man's name, I didn't know where he lived, and there wasn't enough information to identify him. Nothing came of the report. Life eventually returned to normal, but I never forgot that encounter. Years later, after hearing stories about attempted kidnappings and predators who use tricks to lure children away from public areas, I started looking at that night differently. Maybe the man truly needed aspirin. Maybe everything was innocent. But deep down, I don't believe that. The way he watched me. The way he watched me. The way he insisted I follow him. The way he became angry when I refused. And most importantly, the way he followed me afterward. None of that felt normal. None of it felt safe. To this day, I believe I narrowly avoided something terrible. And if Max hadn't been there beside me, I honestly don't know what would have happened. Sometimes, the scariest moments in life don't involve ghosts, monsters, or haunted houses. Sometimes, they're just ordinary people, standing under a streetlight, waiting for someone to trust them. And that's exactly what makes them so terrifying. To this day, I still wonder what would have happened if I had followed that man. Maybe he was harmless. Or maybe my dog saved me from something I'll never fully understand. Some strangers deserve your kindness, but others deserve your caution. And sometimes, trusting your instincts can save your life. If you enjoyed this true horror story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new scary story. Thanks for watching, and remember, not everyone who asks for help has good intentions.